atrocities we are witnessing in Israel would have never happened if he was still President Trump repeatedly blasted Biden for Hamas' deadly attack on Israel as former president makes first campaign stop in New Hampshire in 2 months. WOLFEBORO. Former President Donald Trump on Monday took aim at his successor in the White House, blaming President Biden for this weekend's deadly attack by Hamas on Israel. Trump, in a speech in the crucial early voting state of New Hampshire, claimed that the atrocities we are witnessing in Israel would never have happened if I was president. And the former president, who is running for the White House a third straight time, charged in a campaign trail appearance that Joe Biden betrayed Israel. Trump and many of his rivals for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination have been blasting Biden and his administration since Hamas militants, supported by Iran, on Saturday launched the deadliest attack on Israel in decades. Hamas' surprise early morning assault on Israel during a major Jewish holiday resulted in over 800 Israelis dead and over 100, including the elderly, women and children, abducted and taken back to Palestinian-controlled Gaza as hostages. President Biden has repeatedly decried what he calls the unconscionable attack by Hamas and has pledged that the U.S. will make sure Israel has what it needs to defend itself. The president on Saturday emphasized that the U.S. stands with the people of Israel in the face of these terrorist assaults. Israel has the right to defend itself and its people, full stop. There's never a justification for terrorist attacks, and my administration's support for Israeli security is rock solid and unwavering. But the Republican criticism of the president centers on a recent $6 billion transfer to Iran, a complex deal announced by the Biden administration in September to release 5 U.S. citizens detained in Iran. Roughly $6 billion in frozen Iranian assets that were being held in South Korea were transferred to an account in Doha, Qatar, as part of the deal to free the hostages. At least 9 Americans killed in Hamas' deadly assault on Israel's State Department. The Biden administration has pushed back on GOP criticism by insisting that none of the funds transferred have been spent to date. But Republicans claim that the deal and the funds helped fuel the Hamas assault on Israel. Trump, in his nearly Haranahal-long speech, reiterated points he first made at a campaign event in Iowa on Saturday in slamming Biden. He repeatedly charged that Biden is an incompetent president. And he argued that less than 4 years ago, we had peace in the Middle East with the historic Abraham Accords. Today we have an all-out war in Israel, and it's going to spread very quickly. What a difference a president makes. In blaming Biden for the Iranian-supported attack by Hamas on Israel, Trump touted that as president he reduced the Iranian economy and withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the regime, and imposed a strict travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Now they're pouring into our country. They're pouring into our country. Joe Biden undid it. He ended it all and gave billions and billions of dollars to the world's top sponsor of terror, tossing Israel to the bloodthirsty terrorists and jihadists, Trump argued. And he vowed that as president, I will once again stand strongly with the state of Israel, and we will cut off the money to the terrorists on day one. The former president addressed supporters at an event in a theater in WOLFEBORO, in New Hampshire's Lakes region. It was Trump's first visit in 2 months to the state that holds the first primary and second overall contest in the Republican presidential nominating calendar. It was Trump's first trip back to New Hampshire since headlining an event at Wyndham's High School on August 8th. Trump, who is the commanding frontrunner for the GOP presidential nomination, hasn't spent nearly as much time in the Granite State compared to his rivals for the GOP nomination. But Trump retains a large double-digit lead over his Republican rivals in New Hampshire, as well as in Iowa, which leads off the Republican nominating calendar, and South Carolina, the first Southern contest in the primary and caucus schedule. Where Trump stands in the latest polls in this key primary state when it comes to the all-important ground game efforts in New Hampshire, Trump's campaign touts that we are miles ahead of everyone else. We've been just hammering it as far as grassroots is concerned, Steve Stepanek, the Trump campaign's senior advisor in New Hampshire, told Fox News. The Trump campaign announced its New Hampshire grassroots leadership team in late June. It included 10 county chairs, 4 city chairs, and over 200 town chairs. We've been doing a ton of door knocking, a ton of phone calls, said Stepanek, who is a former state representative and 2016 Trump campaign co-chair in New Hampshire, who went on to chair the state GOP until early this year, getting a huge response, especially on the doors. The Trump campaign would be expected to brag about efforts in the state that gave the EN first-time candidate his initial victory in the 2016 cycle, boosting him toward the GOP presidential nomination and eventually the White House. But even a neutral observer sees strength in Trump's ground game. Greg Moore, a veteran conservative activist in New Hampshire and longtime state director for Americans for Prosperity, tells Fox News that there's no question that Donald Trump has a robust organization here in New Hampshire. Meanwhile, Biden-Harris 2024 campaign national co-chair and military veteran Senator Tammy Duckworth fired back against Trump's remarks. With each and every lie, Donald Trump further proves he is too dangerous to lead the United States on the world stage. The generals and other military leaders who served under Trump, those in a position to know, have repeatedly said he made our country less safe, not more, Duckworth said in a statement on behalf of the Biden campaign Monday. This is the same man who refers to our men and women in uniform as suckers and losers, and refused to visit the final resting place of the brave Americans who served our nation. She added, day in and day out, he continuously disrespects the veterans and service members who committed their lives to protecting our fellow Americans, and we shouldn't take his disgusting and transparently self-serving comments as anything more than what they are, lies.